Well, hi, Bob. It's nice to see you again. We hear you've been out to California, and we hear you have a lot to tell us about everything you've experienced because you're all in 48 hours from the Angelina Jordan concert. And it was at the El Rey Theater, and you have taken footage as well as had the wonderful experience, and you have said that this is her best ever performance.
Oh, without a doubt. There's going to be a lot of wonderful videos coming out, some individual fan cams and some which are pulled from a collective of fans by folks such as Jim Teal and others.
How was the crowd going in? How many people were there, and how was the theater itself? Was it a great location?
Are you familiar with the American concept of a cabaret theater? A cabaret theater is basically just a stage and a sound system, and then you have a floor area which can be configured with tables for dining events or sometimes standing room only if it's more dance type music or seating. And the El Rey is a cabaret theater that probably has a little under 1,000 total capacity. But if it's configured with tables, it would be obviously a much smaller type of crowd. It was set up with staged seating, much like a conventional theater for this concert. I think they originally were capping it at about 600 people. I estimate 300 people actually attended the concert. The seats were all loose, so once the total crowd was there, they removed the additional seats and everybody could spread out. Beautiful, intimate setting. The acoustics of the theater were very dampened. So the sound that you got was basically whatever sound they intended to put out. And it really showed with the result. I captured a lot of video on a couple different media, and my phone footage comes close to what I experienced sitting there. This is the first time that the video that I shot on my phone really matched psychologically what I was feeling sitting there, and the crowd ambient as well as the music on the stage. That and the fact that the sound engineer is actually a part of Angelina's team, they really upped their game in terms of really tuning up the mix that they put out over the house monitors and her voice came through very clear. When she was talking to folks, you felt like you were sitting across the table talking to her. It was extremely clear and intimate, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Wow. And did you go and meet the fellow angels before the concert?
Yes, it was a very nice meet and greet at a place called All Seasons Brewing, which was just a block or two away from the theater. And we met actually a little earlier, like getting together with folks. And by now, a lot of the same people are attending these concerts. So it's like a meeting of old friends. And there was not a lot of, oh, this is so-and-so, because we all know each other from these other experiences. So it was just basically, hi, how you doing? Steve Calloway has done a lot of live streams, which are still up on his site. So you can and he went around and hobnobbed with a lot of people, so people can see a lot of these people just chatting with each other. I had a chance to do a lot more chatting with people this time. And as with every part of this experience, the more you learn about these people, the more fascinating they are. One of the really interesting things when you meet someone who calls himself an angel is to ask them what they actually do in their earthly life. And I think you should be prepared because there's usually a fascinating story right then and there, even independent of their enthusiasm for Angelina's music. Gary Swee, who was staying at the same hotel as I was, at one point walked up with Sarah and proceeded to speak with her in Farsi, which
Wow.
surprised everybody. And so later I asked Gary, I said, well, how does it come to be that you can speak fluent Farsi? And he says, oh, I'm a cultural anthropologist, and I spent 2 years doing my graduate work studying nomadic tribes in Iran.
The demographic cross section of Angelina Jordan fans I have been aware of is extremely high because these people are very educated and very cultured. They come across Angelina and they go a very profound, deep wow because of their backgrounds. Adrian calls himself an electronics engineer in particle physics, but that's as good as being a nuclear physicist. And we get professors and engineers. We do not just get a normal working class cross section of humanity as Angelina Jordan fans.
Yes, absolutely. The depths of the background. Most of these people are not just one thing. I'm a musician. I worked as an engineer. I have hobbies and interests that are fairly deep. And most of these people are in the same type of boat.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that Angelina's deep emotional expression reaches out to people. And the people who most respond are people who are open to that depth of experience. At the meet and greet, we were talking about that very fact. I think everybody who listens to Angelina is hit with a sledgehammer. Now, some people like that, and some people find that somewhat frightening. But the common denominator is with everybody that she really makes a tremendous emotional impact on you. Now, if you're open to that, you turn into rabid fandom.
Maybe it's not just the openness that is a factor, but also that you need it. You're in need of that kind of emotional comfort. She has helped so many people in a time of need. I know when I first heard her, I was very low.
As was I.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just opened up, just got right through me. Maybe it was the timing, and maybe I'm open as well for these things, but still, I think a lot of people have been helped through that kind of connection.
The other thing with Angelina is that when you hear her and you are not prepared for what you're about to hear, in order to incorporate what you've just heard, you have to start back at square one and redefine a lot of things. You have to redefine, what have I just heard? Why is this different than what I've heard before? How am I feeling? How is that different from how I have felt before? And so you're redefining so many things on so many different levels that you drop everything and become a full-time Angelina Jordan fan.
Not only is this the subject of your channel, but I think it's a sub-phenomenon. Besides reacting to her art, fans who have had the experience love watching reaction videos at her impact on other people, particularly that first impact. It was an interesting story at the hotel that we were staying. I was outside chatting with this person, and he works as a sports agent, and he's also involved in some other types of promotional activities and very much a music fan. And we got to talking about why I'm in town and what he's doing. And I told him about Angelina. I brought up a video. So I'm standing there firsthand showing him a video of one of her performances, watching him go, oh, wow. And the video was her Alex Theater performance of I'd Rather Go Blind. And he immediately said, oh, I got to show my girlfriend. So I had a second new reaction of him pointing his phone at my phone, watching Angelina sing, I Put a Spell on You. And I could hear his girlfriend over the phone going through the same sort of, what the heck? And there's this moment of discovery that people have. And when it's a case of people really getting it, and it's just something wonderful about her art touching another person's heart. Yeah. And I got like a double dose of it. And then right afterwards, Steve Calloway walked out and joined us. And then he went nuts with showing them other videos. And he was remarking, oh, I'm going to come to the concert tonight. And I'd like to possibly get a hold of her for some events that I'm producing. So who knows what we started with that matter. He's involved in some sort of new type of TikTok live streaming for musicians.
Yeah, because Andy Schnell, he says it very, very concisely. He says, Angelina Jordan stimulates people to become their most maximum artistic. And I think that's true because of what she does really completely erases boundaries and you have to rethink boundaries. It has the same impact internally where when you look at your own world, you rearrange your own boundaries artistically.
Yeah, I was talking with Andy at the meet and greet, and I think Angelina facilitates people getting in touch with their own emotions. And sometimes that can be a wonderful experience, and maybe with some people, not so wonderful.
It's like taking LSD at university. Sometimes you have a good trip and sometimes not a good trip.
Back to the actual concert. The band is getting into action and playing. And what happens? When does she enter? And what song is she opening with?
Sitting in the theater while everybody's coming in, it was totally different than the other concerts because it was such an intimate setting. So you felt like you were at a family event,
Wow.
quite literally. And Angelina's family was over where I was sitting. They came out of the one door and they're all looking out at the crowd and just wearing street clothes. Nobody was dressed in fancy gowns. So it seemed very informal. And Juliet is a crew of her friends and they were all there. Grandma Mary was there and Sarah. And they're very casually just looking out at the crowd and then taking their seats. And they milled by and sat down right in amongst the audience. And then immediately the band starts with their music and the house lights come down. They were playing a rock version of Carol of the Bells for their introductory music. And the band got to really stretch out a little bit. The curtains open, Angelina walks out, and without a lot of banners, she just said, okay, let's do this. And immediately they launch into the pop version of Bad Valentine.
I set you up for Valentine, gave you no reason why.
So it was like a slap upside. I mean, it began with a bang. And she did Last Christmas, Driving Home for Christmas, Jingle Bell Rock. So a lot of the songs that she's been famous for. The early videos came out with some of the remarkable things because every concert has some surprises. The big surprise at this concert was her reprising some of her great renditions of covers from over the years. Like she did Dream a Little Dream, fantastic.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you miss me. While I'm alone as blue as can be. Dream a little dream about me.
She did It's a Man's World, which people haven't heard her sing in ages.
This is a man's world. It's a man's world. But I'm feeling nothing. Nothing. I will get. Nail in the car to carry us out of the road. Nail in the trailer. Nail in the left light to take us out of the dark.
That might have been one of the peaks of the concert. We were all worried about it starting to rain because she blew the roof off the place when she was done. there were a lot of folks who were saying, well, she doesn't have her old 12-year-old voice, are sadly mistaken. That 12-year-old voice has evolved as well as her newer styles. And It's a Man's World was definitely one of the high points of the concert. Another high point was she did a stripped back acoustic version, a Toby Gad Piano Diaries version of Thank You instead of the reggae. And every concert has a point where people can't hold back the tears.
Yeah.
Well, that was it.
Wow. You get emotional just thinking about it.
What you make me do. Threw all your clothes right out the window. Sold all the jewelry that you gave me. Burned all the pictures of me and you. Look what you made me do. Spend way too much on all that therapy. Talking in circles just to find out I wasn't the problem was you. Look at what you made me do. I didn't know I had it in me. Thought I would lose myself without you, but I learned how to love me.
And she did Love Don't Let Me Go and Bang Bang. And she did a version of My Way. And she closed out with I Will Always Love You.
Wow.
And it was a great closing point.
That was the song she sung when she was just 1.5.
Yeah, well, she's improved on that.
A little bit.
If I should stay, I would only be in your way. So I go, but I know I'll think of you every step of the way. And I will always love you.
Ended the concert with a total raise your hairs, goosebumps experience with that.
Yeah.
And then she said, sadly, we're done. So they closed the curtains. People were sitting around. They were looking for an encore, and it didn't seem to be coming. So I started to pack up all of my gear, and I went back, and I noticed Toby Gad was talking with the sound guy. So I went back to the sound guy afterwards, and I gave him a chef kiss and a fist bump. He gave me a hug, said thank you for appreciating his work.
Wow.
And I was talking with Toby and congratulating him on his work with Angelina. And he was so gracious in person. He is such a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
If there's a common denominator, Angelina surrounds herself with nice people.
Yeah.
But anyway, while I was talking to Toby, somebody got on the loudspeaker and said, I guess you guys want another song. This is after everybody was milling around. So she came back. Toby let out a little expletive. What? She's doing another song. He didn't know if he had to be a part of the song or what. So he broke off and ran back toward the stage. You couldn't have asked for a more spontaneous moment. The curtain comes open again, and she sang Princess of Ruins.
Wow. Now I get emotional just hearing about it.
Spirit in the soul, people living caring about her. It's safe, the stories that she told about.
People think this is all produced and planned, and I don't think they realize how spontaneous it all is.
What you're describing, Bob, the family nature of having 400 people who are totally stranger, where they all feel like family and that family vibe is maintained, that makes me want to take a plane from England to California just for that experience.
Me too.
They share so much behind the scenes footage of her cousins, the family, and I'm sure they carefully select those moments. Like when her mom was in the hospital at 4 a.m, she chose that moment to live stream just because I think she feels a connection close enough with her fans that she wasn't doing that to publicize anything, is rather to share that moment with her fans. And when she does that, she was amazed at 4 a.m. that, oh, there's people on here. People are like, any hour of the day, she can say, hey guys, I need your help. And angels are there for it.
It's like if you have a family dog and you walk the dog and the dog goes up to every person and wags its tail and loves them. And that's the feeling that I get at an Angelina Jordan concert, that type of universal warmth towards everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about that. My high point of the entire trip was Athena walking out after the concert. Our mom's carrying Aries. Athena is that family dog that is uncontrollable. And she was walking up and she said hi to me and a lot of other people who were on the sidewalk outside the theater. And they had to sort of like rein her back in because she wanted to just go out and start talking with everybody. She's very well spoken and super extroverted and just delightful. But I did not expect it. Interacting with her cousin.
Well, if you have Athena's email address, we'll write to her and we'll see if we can get her on the podcast. If she's an extrovert, that's our only criteria.
I've heard her sing, and she may be the next Angelina. She's got a great sense of pitch, just like the early videos of Angelina. And
I only know Athena from her spinning around in the Suspicious Minds video.
But you have given us a real sense of what it's like to be there. And I'm really jealous of everybody who got to witness them. And of course, I haven't seen any footage. So now I'm really curious of going out on YouTube and see what's available.
The people who are really trying to focus on this are going to be putting out some great videos. Even the first ones, which were straight off the phone, are out and actually sound and look really good. I got footage that really gives you a sense of what it's like to be there.
Well, Rob, you probably will be developing your own fan club of thousands of angels all around the world because you are personally responsible for giving everyone the experience as if you were in the concert. And so you've done a great job, Bob, because you were there and you have a photographic memory and there's so much granular detail. And I could not blink while you were talking. I didn't want to miss a word.
Exactly.
I don't like to be in the public. It's not my goal. My goal is to facilitate other people that are trying to do it. My fandom is based on, I just love good music of all sorts. And then personally, her music in particular has had a super positive impact on my life.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
I was really wondering, am I crazy for going to this concert? It's like, no, I don't have to. I'm not that obsessive that I have to go to everything that she does. Because some people are now chalking it up with, they collect the buttons. And there are people who look like Latin American military people when they have all their buttons lined up, And, that you say, well, is it worth it? Well, I could not describe a better thing to be doing with my time than being at that event. It was just that wonderful. Musically, I think it's the best concert she's ever done. Every time she performs, she keeps elevating her game, and it continues. I did not see how she could improve on Alex, and yet she did. She's defining her voice and maybe backing off some of the pop and more to this intimate piano diaries type thing. I don't know if she will ever be the arena concert type performer. I think she will be always associated with classy concert halls. I could see her doing jazz festivals. I could see her doing symphony pops type concerts. Her own band is really evolving The band was in top form as well. Jimmy Z was absolutely great. I had a chance to talk with the bass player, who was the only band member I hadn't chatted with, and he was such a nice guy. But I even helped him. Everybody thinks these people are celebrities, but after the concert's over, he comes out with a dolly carrying all of his amplifier and musical equipment. Toby Gadd was actually helping people load the drummer. Beals Jr. is the drummer, and Toby was helping him load the drums in the car. I identify with all this.
But Bob, if they can have 400 people in the venue and it feels like a family get-together, maybe they can have 4,000 people and it can feel like a family get-together. Maybe they can have 40,000 people, it can feel like a family get-together. What is the limit?
I think there are tipping points. I think it's all a function of the venue as well. If you go to a good concert hall, they can accommodate several thousand people and maintain that intimacy and connection.
Yeah.
When you get to the tens of thousands, I think that it is a different type of thing. One, you have a problem with room acoustics, you have a problem with distance. And when you get to the 100,000 range with the Taylor Swift, when they're doing the stadium concerts, at that point, regardless of whether you like Taylor Swift or not, you're not listening to Taylor Swift. You're listening to a recording of Taylor Swift with lights. You're seeing everything, and the artist is almost an incidental part of that. And I just don't see that ever being Angelina. Her unique thing is that you could hear her in her room in curlers singing, and that is the essence of her art. And everything that you add to that is just seasoning to her art. I don't know if she becomes a performer in that sense rather than basically a vocal expression artist.
But maybe this way that they're going about building her career, maybe this way of just basically taking your time, doing venue after venue, a little bigger, a little more professional, maybe they will develop a way that they can transfer this kind of feeling to larger and larger audiences over time.
We're all feeling our way through this new age of internet technology, AI, new forms of media. The traditional distribution channels for the big record companies, they're in a crisis because their goal is to make bundles of money, and the internet is disrupting that. And there's a question, what do they bring to the individual artist other than holding them back? What Toby has said, what Angelina is doing is pursuing that brave new world, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And it gives her the ability to connect directly without interference of people telling her how. But it also puts the burden on her to define what that art is and how she proceeds forward. I think people should be very forgiving as an artist is exploring the world and not knowing the answers. Yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing with her, is that she and her team are finding their way. And I think she is a person, just like we all do at that time in our lives in the late teens, early 20s, you're defining who you are as a person. And part of that is trying on different persona and saying, oh, I like that. That's comfortable. Or no, actually, I don't like that. I need a new way. And I think she's exploring that. Yeah. And before our eyes, we see her strengthening and gelling into a very wonderful artist and human being with her own struggles that I think we need to be sensitive to and forgiving of.
Rob, what you said earlier, if you listened to Angelina 2 years ago, you really could say, I don't think she can get any better. If you listen to her 4 years ago, you could say the same thing. If you listen to her 6 years ago, you could say the same thing. And it begs the question, how will she get better from here? How good can she be in another 2 years' time?
You were talking about years, but in September, I was at the Alex Theater, and I said, how could she get any better from then? And what I saw at this Christmas concert was she was consolidating all the different eras of Angelina into current day Angelina. A lot of fans were worried that she had lost some of the magic from whatever particular age. Some of us adopted her as a granddaughter and couldn't grow beyond that. Some adopted her as the beautiful young woman on America's Got Talent and couldn't get beyond that. Some people fell in love with her when she released the Old Enough EP, totally explorative, moving beyond that to this acoustic version that maybe is recapturing some of the other parts of it. What I saw at this concert was just every one of those. She's an 18-year-old who has a 10-year-long career, and we're talking about different eras of Angelina. It's just incredible. Actually, the sound in the theater was so good that even raw stuff right off of cell phones actually comes through pretty good in terms of the audio. I got great audio off my phone. There were two other people there that had these are recorders that they managed to sneak in. The problem is everything has to be somewhat smuggled into the theater. I had my recorder disguised as a key fob for a car. And I had my shotgun microphone hidden in my glass cases. And Peter Hormel, he actually was holding the microphone, trying to disguise it in his lap. Trying to capture these things when they really haven't been clear how much they want you to do, how much not. Like Steve Calloway had a little tripod for doing selfie work as well as his live streams. We stayed near the airport, so we had to take an Uber over to the actual theater. So what we were carrying on our person, we had no place to put it. And he had a knapsack, and they gave him a lot of grief about bringing that in. I still wish that Angelina's team would somehow put out like some official memorandum, what it is that they want us to do and approve and what they don't want us to do. I think the videos that James Steele and Chris Walker put up were absolutely part of the chronicle of her story. Without those videos, you wouldn't have this whole past year documented other than through individual fans' videos. And the stuff that Jim has put together is like damn near studio quality in terms of the editing. It was our intent to try to up our game for this concert. And I think you'll see that we have, even given some of the mistakes and stuff that we made. I really had high hopes for this recording. And there's no way to adjust it because I couldn't bring in the little receiver that allowed me to adjust the sound levels. We tried to coordinate all of our cameras for white balancing because trying to film in that setting when they have all the stage lighting going on, it's sort of like doing war correspondence and they're shooting at you with machine guns.
Okay. One thing I was thinking about was the quality of work that you mentioned that Chris Walker and James Steele are doing with their multi-cameras and sound enhancement is so high that it could actually be as a basis for or a replacement for Angelina's team's own recording if they did do that. They did do it on the last Christmas concert that she had.
They had a full production team for that.
What I was thinking about was, why don't we initiate that we produce the whole concert in that way, but not publish it on YouTube, rather have a different site where people could buy access to that kind of work and then just donate that money to Angelina's team and say, hey, we've done this. Why don't you give us the right to do that even better next time?
After we did everything else, and when I was trying to catch 3 hours of sleep before I caught my plane, and I was traveling all day yesterday, James actually pulled another all-nighter and put up the first of his videos with some of the audio that we captured. After the concert, a number of us got together and immediately directly offloaded our recorders and phones to his computer, plus his own footage. I didn't bring any of my professional cameras because they would stop you at the door with that. But a couple other people managed to smuggle in some stuff. And James is talking to everybody, so he's gathering all of that. The big news at this concert was being a sound guy. I hung out near the soundboard, and I actually got to meet the sound engineer. And he actually is the newest part of Angelina's team. So the sound engineer for the first time. We had all speculated that it was always like a house engineer doing the sound at the other shows. And it turns out that was correct. This concert was the first one where she had a member of her own team there. Prior to the concert, Toby Gad was working with him fervently to get the final sound adjusted. And it really came through because you could hear on all the mixes that they had her voice EQ'd superbly.
Wow.
I mean, it's another level. So even if the stuff you're getting off of cell phones and everything is coming through even unedited beautifully. Yeah. And that's why some of the first things that put up, even those sound really good. With a little bit of enhancement, I expect a lot of these things to sound stupendous. And you could tell that she was mixed for the house audience very sensitively. So her voice was far above the rest of the band. The drums were dialed back. I just got up, so I had enough time to check some of my audio where I noticed clipping, and I had a heartbreak on that. But then I transferred all my phone files, and my video leaves a little to be desired because we messed up. James is using to try to color balance all the different cameras that he gets, and then when he merges them together, you get a seamless blending of his different views.
Yeah. There's a lot of work going behind the scenes that we have no idea about.
People don't realize. I had a little bit of a sense of what Angelina's team is going through when you're putting together one of these things on the spot. So I'm very sympathetic. And when I see people coming on and criticizing, oh, her band isn't what they want it to be, or it seems like they made a mistake here. I don't think people realize in an ideal world, everything could be perfect. And people seem to think, well, Angelina has this massive team of professionals, and she does, but it's still a family business.
Yeah. It's almost like she's building up to being the artist that she wants to be in the future. She's taking it one step at a time. Now she's got a professional sound engineer at her concerts, and she's got the band. Everything she does is like a rehearsal for the next step.
In her life as well, I think she's making choices about the type of art that she wants to produce. I think she decided to back off the direction that the Old Enough EP went. I think part of that was obviously her writing, but I think the production and the style of that music was probably kind of in a direction that she decided to pull back from. And the type of thing that Toby Gad was doing with his music, backing off and going more to an acoustic, scaled back type, which I think is beautiful. Yeah, and sure. I think that's very much in line with the direction that Angelina's going. In this concert, when she came out with Bad Valentine, that was produced back in the time when she was doing the rest of the Old Enough EP. And then she came out with the jazzy version of that, which she did both versions live at the concert.
Wow.
Feels completely different. I stood you up on that side, gave you no reason why, decided I got you on without a tear in my eye. I hit too high when I saw you. I was on table fire too. I knew I'd never see the sunshine with you, so I spent my night with them
You will find with the concert, she has upped her game vocally.
Again.
Again. And answered a lot of critics. People have criticized her that she's gone to this kind of affected style, leaning on the vibrato. And somehow they said, well, she lost that beautiful voice she had when she was in her teens. No, she can go any way she wants. Maybe that's a problem. And at the concert, we got the full rainbow of vocal styles. And you're going to find as the videos come out on this, you're going to see the full range of who Angelina is today.
The thing about the Christmas songs is that this is where she really excels, that picking the tone, picking the voice, picking the emotion that really fits the song.
I think she did this concert just because she said, I want to do this because this is part of who I am and I miss doing that.
Yeah.
And she even mentioned at one point in the concert that she did a tour way back in Europe of doing Christmas concerts, and she wanted to do that again. So that is part of her essence.
Cool.
The memories, it's so weird because I was a little tiny kid just looking back a couple years ago. Now I'm reminiscing. Just think of all the good times. I remember I had a whole Europe tour of Christmas shows, which was incredible. I had a whole month with doing all these Christmas shows, and I haven't done much Christmas live shows for a couple years now. I am so happy to do that this year with you guys, and I can't wait to share the very exciting news that I'm still gonna hold to myself, but next year you guys will know, and it won't get you disappointed because it's pretty good news.
I was sitting in the fifth row on the right side of the theater, and over on the other aisle was Angelina's family. Juliet and her posse of friends were there. I have footage of Sarah and Mary. Sarah was, as usual, all over the place. Seems to be back in game shape. She was like at work, running around and talking with fans a lot after the show. I managed to have an informal interview with Athena.
Okay, cool.
She may be the biggest extrovert of the family. She was coming out and talking with all the fans that were standing around, and they kept trying to grab her away, and she was moseying up to people. So that was another delightful moment as well. And I have the opening of the concert and my raw footage from my setting. One in the audience are all the super angels in front, so I was documenting them as well as the stage opening up.
One thing I was thinking about was you should actually have a camera pointed at the audience the whole concert, just to pick up on the different expressions and emotions that must go through as a wave through the audience.
Well, with most of these audiences, it's the same cast of characters because they're the ones crazy enough to drop the money to get those front row seats. They go to great expense to stage that, and that includes Jim Teal, Steve Ackerman, Doug Switzer, Andy Snell. It would be fun to watch exactly what you're talking about, watching them as seeing the insanity of angeldom in its full expression.
Yeah, it's like a huge reaction video taking place.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, Bob, I think there will be thousands of happy people who feel slightly satisfied as if they had been to the concert.
Yes, definitely.
And thank you very much. You have been a stellar guest, Bob. You have done great justice to Angelina and her performance.
Yeah, thank you.
And I hope someday that we get to meet in person at a concert over in Europe somewhere, or if you decide to go through the jet lag of crossing the ocean.
I was in New York in October, and the East Coast is a little bit more accessible to me than the West Coast. So
of course,
New York is not out of the question for me.
Cool.